good morning from my side. Pleasure to be back in Zagreb, particularly since the lovely weather here today and yesterday. Now, I think everybody will recognize in the last few years, mobile users have been very inspired by one key thing. Actually, I'll say two key things. First thing was the touchscreen really becoming a mass phenomenon. The second thing was people getting inspired by the applications they have on their devices. Now this has been something that Nokia has had for the last 6 or 7 years, applications on our Symbian devices. But what we haven't been able to do is make that, let's say, an inspirational point of, key selling point of the device. Of course, there's one competitor of ours that has done that very well. And what that's shown us is it's not just about the applications and having them, it's also about the ease of getting access to them. Now, from our point of view, we take a very localized approach. We're not doing a centralized approach where we get developers creating apps through a single market, and we look to each individual country that we deal in and those consumers in that country. And for me, that's a very key part, and the reason why I would like to speak today, to raise a bit of the awareness of what we're doing in the application area here in Croatia. We have done a sample, or let's say a questionnaire, of just over 700 people to get a statistically representative understanding of the marketplace here and what people would like to see in their applications. You will have all this information, I'm assuming, so I will not go through slide by slide, line by line. That would be very boring for you. But what I can say is that, as I said, just over 700 people. You can see the demographics there, education, occupations, and I'll go a little bit more into each one of those now. The majority of the people, of course, are from Zagreb and the surrounding area, as we would expect with large populations. The types of devices that people are using, and this is a key point for us to understand, Nokia connects people. We're not saying we only want the top 5% of the world to be able to access the internet from a mobile. So we can see here at the top that a large percentage of the people are using relatively straightforward devices, simple to use, to access the internet. Of course, there's a lot of other different ones there, such as QWERTY, using devices for emailing, messaging, etc. Another part here which stands out is the majority of people are actually paying the bills themselves, which is different in some markets. Some markets there's a higher proportion of companies in that pay. Of course, somebody else is paying the bill, you're more likely to use it. This is important for us to know in terms of the value of the application. In terms of that, let's dig a little bit further into the internet usage. So 28% of people are using the internet, the mobile internet. In fact, let's go a step further. There isn't really a mobile internet or an internet, there's only one internet. So people are using their mobiles to get access to that internet. Do people use data packages? Yes. And this is an important part which we'll come to in terms of one of the big concerns about using their mobiles is people want to know what it's going to cost them. And when we start talking about megabytes, gigabytes, the average person doesn't really know what that means, doesn't know what a web page is, doesn't know what an email is in terms of the size. So this is a concern for the people, and that's something we need to understand. Again, another big reason for why applications are so important, because people bring the application to their device and then they feel a little bit more comfortable that it's not continuously using the internet and swapping from basic websites, etc. If we look at the user profile, so typical mobile internet user is male, so quite a big percentage, 66%. If we look into the age, we can see that the majority of them are up to the age of 40. So that means that somehow people are more internet savvy and want to use that. They see the value in it, and it's certainly a trend, as we all recognize that mobile internet is a trend that's growing, and it's the typically the younger people. I say under 40 because I still am. Of course, next year I might say that it's a slightly different thing. But another part here is students. So we can see that the students are also over-indexed. So again, this gives us an idea of who we are targeting our applications at, because firm belief of ours is that the applications need to be local and specific to that country. So right now we get an idea that the majority of people typically going to be male, students, and under a certain age, which means that it makes it a little bit easier for us to then say which application should we be developing. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you an idea of what those applications people are asking for are. Of course, using the internet on the mobile, it's about a certain amount of compromise because of the screen size, etc. So what are people actually wanting them to do more easily? And no surprise there, they would like to be able to zoom in to see certain parts of the website easier. So that's a key one there, that websites need to be able to zoom in, zoom out, or alternatively be optimized for the smaller screen size. And I think that's certainly happening these days. This comes to then why people would not use it. So we as a major player in the industry, along with our partners, the operators, have an obligation to increase the size of the mobile internet usage, data usage, etc. That's what the industry needs, is something to keep it growing and going forward, to ensure that we can keep investing, to ensure the operators can keep investing in speeds, which overall will improve the experience. So the concern here is about the cost. So we work together, and if you see all of any advertisements, anything we do now, we talk not just about a device like we did in the past, or features about cameras. We now talk about what services and what applications you can use on that device. And that then puts together for a solution for the operators to be able to sell to their consumers. Now, the important part there is the consumers aren't looking for a solution, they want a good experience. So the whole thing has to work together so that they're happy with it. And a key one there then is about the cost. So increasingly we will see bigger bundles in data tariffs, or maybe even flat rate in some countries we're seeing now, which is a big step forward. The type of applications that people are using. So of all the people that we interviewed and the mobile internet users, 45% have actually used applications. And interestingly enough here, and this varies again country by country, so it's important for us to know when we're developing applications, is what applications they use. Here in Croatia we see there's a large proportion are using games. So it can be people are downloading games to use for maybe that commute to and from the university, or when they have that little bit of spare time in a coffee house waiting for their friends to show up, they can use the games. And then multimedia, things like that, watching maybe the news clips. And again, we'll refer to this when I come to the application list a bit later. Also, one other thing that's different, a little bit different here, is perhaps the sport, which is a little bit lower than normal. So some countries, sport is quite high on the agenda. We don't know why, but we'll certainly look into that. It's certainly an application we'll provide, because there is a big interest and a big following in that. Okay, in terms of the sources, so it's also important for us to know how people are getting access to those applications. Now typically, so the users could answer more than one here. So at the top one is saying directly from the application developer, which is good. So there's some examples there, Facebook, Skype. You go to their website, they'll have a mobile download. This will happen also with banks, insurance companies, airlines, etc. OV Store, this was a nice one for us, of course, to see, because people actually recognize that that's an application store now. As I said, merchandising or making the application available is important. If it's easy to get to, easy to find what they want, then people will use it more often. So this was a good one for us. And then the operators then also come in there, which is good, because now people understand that there's more places to get the applications. Of course, there's some competitors up there. But overall, important that people are understanding that they go to the websites, now they start to think, hey, maybe I can do this on the mobile, so maybe there's an application on that website.